I'll be talking today about rethinking the package management. What this actually is, it's more how a project, Nix, which I'm involved, is rethinking how we should actually treat packages. In short about me, I live in Berlin, originally from Slovenia. I currently work at Mozilla, at the release engineering team. You already seen we do a lot of stuff with Python. So do I. And as many of you, you probably don't know what you want in your life, and it's okay because nobody knows exactly. But what I do know, usually what we do know is what we don't want in our life. And for example, I know that I don't like phones for different reasons, and I don't use them, right? I mean, kind of makes sense. I don't like beer, so I don't drink it, right? Also makes sense. And I don't like my stuff to get broken, right? I don't like to fight my package management, so I don't use current traditional package managers. Because everything I do, it's sooner or later, if it works for you, it won't work for me more or less in 90% of the time of the cases. And this is actually the current experience with package management. It's, everybody is kind of sad, and everybody that does package management has beards and long and gray, and those people who are telling war stories, something like that. Anyway, let's move on. This is the agenda. We're going to talk in short. I'm really hoping that, I'll speed up a bit, and kind of those bonus things, I'd like to go through it and show you the demos, how that actually this all works together. So let's just move on. So why, I think, what are the 3 key problems that package managers should actually solve, and they are not doing the good job at it? And the first thing is the upgrade problem, right? So dependency hell, DLL hell from Windows, although Linux is no exception there, it might be even worse. Just that the more people actually look at it, so it's more manageable. What's the other? Cabal hell, if you're from Haskell, you name it. Even pip has these problems. So what this means is if you have a package A, which depends on package B of version 1, and you install package C, which also depends on package B, but of version 2, it will upgrade the package B, and suddenly your package A might work or might not work. So you're kind of never sure about this, right? So it's kind of upgrade problem. I'm going to talk how this gets solved later. Reproducibility. When I talk to people about reproducibility, it's like talking to people about veggies, and you should eat them, because it's hard to see immediately why reproducibility actually matters. Let me put it in short terms. If you have things reproducible, you can actually compose them. If things are not reproducible, I'll show an example later, you cannot compose them. And if you have a system, which is a build system, which is not composable, means that sometimes it works, sometimes, maybe it's a Monday thing that it just should not work. And then too many tools. I like to consider myself a full stack developer. And it's hard to be a full stack developer today because I'm a Python developer, or at least something in the title says that I'm a Python developer, and I need to know at least 8 things to actually develop, deploy, manage, test, and these are 8 different tools with different problems, right? If you are a front-end developer, add NPM then, and there's like hundreds of problems more. And Docker, yay, another tool, right, which needs to fit the stack. So to be a full stack developer is hard. And what I like at Nix is actually that it replaces all those tools and kind of not only replaces them, but it improves and kind of fixes things both two problems which I manage above. So let's just dive into. So I will start with explaining what the terminology is, so when I speak about Nix, you will actually be able to tell what Nix was. So Nix actually in Dutch and more or less in conversation German means nothing. So Nix is a package manager. On the website it says it's a functional package manager. But don't be worried, no monads, no Haskell, no nothing. Still functional because it uses all the functional concepts. Nix I also like to use it as a reproducible build tool. As you seen yesterday, there was a talk about Bazel. It's exactly, Nix can also serve as a build tool, right? I'll show examples later. And accidentally, or there is also a Nix expression language, which is actually a configuration DSL language. Looks a bit like JSON. So kind of, I'll show examples later, that it's kind of easy to read and you can actually reason about. Why there is a special language just for this, we can talk outside because it's a bit longer story. Nix packages, it's a GitHub repository. That's actually where the core value of Nix, the project, comes. Nix packages is a collection of packages where we describe the world. So all the packages out there, kernel, systemd, Python packages, Haskell packages, R packages, Go packages, you name it, it's in there. One big repository. So whenever I talk about Nix packages, I mean this. In the Nix ecosystem, we also have Hydra, which is a specialized continuous integration, continuous build server. You don't have to use it, right? It helps when you are building lots of packages, like for when you build all the packages of the world. It helps schedule them better. But if you use Jenkins, you can use it. Then there is a NixOS. NixOS is a Linux distribution built on top of Nix. So it's not built on top of Debian and other distributions, but built on top of Nix. So in short, if you want to have NixOS, what NixOS is a kernel, a bootloader, an init system, and a Nix package manager. And yeah, then this kind of configures. This laptop runs on NixOS, for example. And then there is NixOps. NixOps is a tool to deploy NixOS, so Linux distributions, into the cloud, which means it also provisions, migrates all your, upgrades all your websites when you deploy. So to manage AVS instances or VirtualBox instances, VMware, Hetzner machines, and things like that. And it's actually a Python tool. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to talk about kind of change your build scripts to actually apply this thing is reproducibility. Why does this matter is, I'm not sure everybody understands what I mean by reproducibility, so maybe from programming terms it would be when we are talking about pure functions, right? This would be one of the terms, or it's more kind of Haskellish, like we call it the deterministic there, or even more like if a function is referentially transparent, right? To be extra, like if you write a PhD, you would use this term, right? Or maybe it's a stateless function. I put all these terms because they more or less mean what I want to tell you right now. So on the bottom you have there a function which is it's a pure function, right? Every time, for every input you provide, for the same input you provide, you will always get the same output. You call it on Monday, on Tuesday, on Thursday, always the same input, no matter how many times. So this is what I talk about when I talk about reproducibility or pure function. I'm talking like being pure in a functional manner, right? Let's see example of non-functional, because this is a function which is not pure, which basically means on every Monday, this thing will just blow up, right? It's going to do something else that you didn't expect. Okay. So why this reproducibility matters? So can you imagine which kind of functions would you actually like to use in your code base? The pure ones or the non-pure ones, right? So does it then make sense to apply the same concept on your package management? So if you install a package today, right, and a package tomorrow, or your build script does a build today and tomorrow, shouldn't that be more or less at least the same versions, if not the bit-to-bit identical? That would be nice, right? So an example of this getting broken completely, it's a really powerful tool, really popular tool, not powerful, Docker, right? It's the biggest mistake of Docker is not the Docker and the runtime and everything, it's the Docker files, right? Because everybody in the Docker file, one of the first line or majority is they do apt-get update, right? Which basically means today it might work, tomorrow most likely, in 1 year probably not, right? So this kind of breaks this reproducibility and you're not sure what you're actually testing. It's also hard to upgrade. You put the trust on somebody else's to do the decisions kind of the right for you, although they don't actually know your system at all. So reproducibility, at least take from this talk, it's good for you, like veggies. Yeah, other features of Nix, the package managers, which brings alongside, there is no kind of opt-out of this, is Atomicity. You ever, let's say, node project, right? And you just want to update your packages to the latest version, and you do what? npm install. And this basically breaks your current environment or says, I'm going to do something, and it tries to install it. And if in the middle, the internet connection breaks, something gets out of band, maybe something got released which is broken, you end up with a broken development environment, right? The same thing holds for pip. If you update your packages in your, let's say, virtual environment, right? You say pip install -- upgrade something, and it will upgrade, but if in the middle of a process, the download link got removed, because this kind of happens from time to time, or something happens, your laptop goes on fire, well, your development environment is broken. So atomicity is important when every operation you do should be atomic. And with Nix, every operation you do is always atomic. When I upgrade my laptop, it's one command, and I upgrade it. If it fails in the middle, I'll still end up with a working environment. And that's kind of, it's one of those productivity tools that everybody should be doing, but they're not, right? The same, like it falls into the veggie box, right? You should do it, you know you should, but maybe just the tool should do it for you without you thinking, right? And Nix does this. Next thing is rollbacks. Because of the design, how Nix works, and I sadly don't have time to go into details, rollbacks just comes out of the design decision, right? So having, upgrading my kernel on the Wi-Fi at the conference is not a problem, because if it fails, I can go to a previous version or generation of my system. This can also apply to any project. It's not only for operating system. Nix, by design, handles multiple installations at a time. Every installation is non-destructive. So if you're used to, when you install something, you actually change files in the /etc/user, Nix doesn't do this. It actually installs new version of /user. Like I'm making a pseudo analogy here. But it will never uninstall what was previously installed by installing new or upgrading version, right? To actually remove, because we don't have so much disk space, there is a different operation which kind of inspects what is being used and removes it. It's kind of garbage collection system-like. You can run it on a inside cron, so you always have enough disk space. Next thing is that problem is like works on my machine, or the moment you write the README file and set the requirements, it's already outdated, because systems change. And what is really important when you define your development environment, and it's actually really beneficial, like, again, VeggieBox, it's complete dependency, right? With Nix, it's actually the kind of the cumbersome thing is that you have to define all of the dependencies. But anybody has any good reason why we should not define all of the dependencies? I cannot think of it. Like, you should always know. So if you define on Python, you should also define which, it should kind of implicitly be defined for you, but you should define a glibc, which you use, or things like that. It should kind of come with your system, right? So whenever I make it work on my system in Nix, I can give my, let's say this, you call it the Nix scripts, or Nix, default Nix. I can commit it to a project, and a person on the other end will have the same system on the other side. It kind of falls also in the box with a bit together with reproducibility, but complete dependency, right? I'll show you an example why this actually then matters when building Docker images and things like that. Multiple environments. Because we can have multiple packages of the same name and version even on the same, just built a bit differently, side by side, we can have also multiple environment. You can have per user environment on certain machine, or you can have even multiple environments as a user, which means, and also we can have these ad hoc environments. I'm going to skip what this means because I'm going to show it later. And source and binary. I was a Gentoo user, and the reason why I love Gentoo is because I can actually fiddle around a bit, and things like this will never happen. Make it bigger. So it's a package with an additional commit on it, and it was released, right? So I really like to be able to hook into a build system and say, you know what, apply this patch, right? I'm not saying this is my tool should allow me to do this. But of course, because I'm not 18 anymore and I don't have time to compile everything, I also like to have binaries, right? You know, I'm still cold most of my time, but I don't want to use my CPU to hit me up anymore. So I'd like to have binaries taken care of. And also this is important in a team environment where actually once the binaries are available, I should be able to distribute and speed up the installation. So before I go to demos, I'd like to show you how to install. I know I'm using curl to install. The script is extra simple, what it does. You should check it, what it does, but for the sake of putting it on a slide, it's a simple curl command. This is actually going to be fixed, but another. And removing Nix is actually just removing the Nix folder. So I told you before that Nix installs every package in its own kind of namespace, kind of like, let's put it this way, and it does not pollute anything in /user, right? Why is this important? Because it's safe to use Nix, right? And it works alongside any other package manager. So you can use Nix on your Linux machine, you can use Nix on your Debian machine, or you can Nix on your CentOS machine. You name it, it will work there alongside, it will complement. How it actually hooks into your system is just by putting certain path in the path variable, right? So that's the only integration with the system, and it's non-intrusive. So you won't break your system by installing Nix. It's safe, right? If you don't like it, it's okay. It's not for everybody. I mean, veggies are not for everybody, so you can just remove it. So, safe. That's the word. Questions so far? You understand the veggies, reproducibility, and installing it. Okay, so the demo time. Okay. No, this one. So first, I'd like to show you how to replace virtual env with Nix. And not only to replace it, it actually brings it in a scope of any package any package. So the tool we use is actually called Nix shell. And so you will see first, there is no Python 3 on my system. And I can say Nix shell-p Python 3.5. And it immediately put me into the shell which Python 3, it's there, right? So I can use it. I can explain those long paths after. Sorry, no time. So I have already Python on my system. Same would work if I want to use, let's say Node.js, is it Node.js? And it's already there. So I don't have anything on my system which I don't use. Is it Node.js? No. There you go. It's Node. And this is how you kind of create. So it's a virtual env for everything. That's kind of cool, right? But I know you don't want to learn all the details about Nix on the first day. So let's say I convince you to install it, right? Because you know how to remove it, just because of that, right? And you kind of got, yes, I'm going to listen to my mom, veggies are good. So now that we are, so let's say how you would set up, how would you use virtual environment with Nix. This would look something like this. Why am I? Well, I'm too big for this step. Okay. Python 3 something. So I will just pull in also the virtual environment, and actually, if it does not find it in my so-called cache or Nix store, it will actually download it. So, but only download it the first time. Let me go out just to show you. Bang, we're inside, right? So everything is cached because this kind of, we don't even think about caching. It's done by design. Okay, virtual env, that's how you use it, right? So, and then, yes, okay, env bin, and let's install something which requires, what's the no binary, right? All and LXML. So it will, using the cache, and of course it fails because it's missing libxml, right? I'm showing those examples where they have system dependencies, right? And that's actually where the Nix kind of comes nice because it manages everything, right? So, okay, let's just add libxml. I can see it at the end. I added libxml2 and libxml t. And you entered, and let's just rerun it, and you'll see, yada, yada, yada. It's, oh, did I?
No compiler.
Sorry?
No compiler.
No, it's missing the libxml. Ah, yeah. This will work. Ah, damn it. Okay. No idea. It should be the other way around. But it should be. Did I do something wrong? I'm just checking from the right side where I have the nodes. Actually, this was working yesterday. There we go. Okay. Package management, yes. Basically, I don't have time because I have to move. I want to show you more, so this should work. Probably I did some mistake of removing something. Anyway, moving further, there is this nice thing we can use Nix shell for quickly packaging scripts, right? So an example of if you write these small command line utilities, you actually should use click because it's the tool to write about, do it, but then you have to package it, right? So in order to distribute this simple command line utility, I would have to create a setup py file, do a bunch of stuff there, create a folder, put the script in, bunch of stuff, and then of course deploy it to PyPy, but it's just a simple script. So what I actually do is at the top there in the second line, you can actually specify Python packages which are needed when you run. And then it's basically kind of saying use the Python 3 interpreter, that's that -i Python 3, and then you can specify which Python packages you want to use. And kind of works, I already marked it as executable, so when you run it, the first time it will download the binary, and then every second time it will just run it, right? So that caching kind of comes out of the box. It's kind of a quick solution for all those scripts you have laying around, and sharing this on just simply giving it to a friend via gist, it's extra nice way of quickly prototyping things. Next thing is Nix and Python. Yes, so Nix and Python is a bit kind of difficult to address, but I wrote a tool which kind of generates, it's called PyPy to Nix, and it generates Nix expressions for you from your requirements.txt file. Just to show you what the requirements.txt file looks like, there are two lines, LXML and request library. Python-X. And then when you run it, you will see it actually, it inside Nix, it's its own build system, kind of crippled build system. It uses, because during the build system I allow to go online, it will download, it will actually do pip install and create wheels for it, and then try to figure it out what are the right dependencies, because I thought, after years of trying, this was the most reliable way of getting a dependency graph. And then in the top, you see that I actually provided also the, here at the top right, what are the system requirements, because they're needed, and if LXML will be, yeah, should be more, yeah. Figuring out, this is done. So it kind of says, run this, and it should kind of, it should enter the, so this requirements .nix was generated, plus 2 other files. But the important part is it gives you a command which you can actually call, and if everything works, you should kind of put you in a development environment with those 2 packages installed. Okay. Again, LXML, the second time. While I go ahead and talk about, oh yeah, I have to finish this. Okay, let's give it a second. But what this means is you can actually, for your project, like this PyPy2Nix just guesses the best it can. There is ways how to actually overwrite what PyPy2Nix guessed for it. So there's like all flexibility of adding dependencies, adding build time dependencies, or setup requires and things like that, which is really hard to detect using current tools in Python. Okay, and Python, the 3 import LXML kind of works. Requests, whether it works, it's another question, but let's say it built, right? So those 2 are present there. So you can see this is, as you do pip compile or pip freeze, this is kind of the same process, but you actually define all the system dependencies. One of the nice things is there is also a Nix build command, which will actually, if I show you, there is a result and it creates a link. This link was not there before, which actually points into the /nix store somewhere, which kind of gives me the interpreter, which is with those files, with those modules being located there, right? How this all works together, sorry, no time, but not that hard to understand. It just manages the Python path for you and links. The nice thing about this, which is interesting, is you ever wonder what is actually what are the dependencies of your project, right? So there is a nice command which kind of gives you the list of all the dependencies, right? All the way to glibc. You would not believe what you're actually depending on by depending just on Python, right? So just for a food of thought, Nix kind of exposes this because, well, that's how it's designed, and it's, yeah. Next one, what do we have? Nix Docker. So let's say we want to package what we just developed. Okay, I'll just finish up. Okay, let me just finish up. It's possible to put all this stuff into a Docker and run it. NixOS community, sorry, NixOS community is small. There is, it's small. I thought it's small, but anyway, we have 11,000 packages, 500 services, 900 contributors. They were really active on GitHub. Actually, this is from GitHub Universe. We're actually right above Docker on active users of like engaging. So yeah, I don't know if this is fair to rate, but we are active. We are not as small as I thought we were. I'll just learn it, please read it. I don't have time. Basically boils down to documentation is not good for beginners. But it's still easier to learn one tool than 10 tools. There you go. Just one thing, you find me on Twitter if you have any problems, questions, because it's not beginner friendly. And There is a Nix.js meetup in Dublin, I just realized, by the Rapid Ratings developer, yeah, back there. He's organizing it. It's, I think it's going to be some meetup soon-ish announced. So there you go, if you're from Dublin. Thank you.